that gonna go in focus? Hello, it's Marlisa, and I'm on vacation. Hooray! One of my favorite things to do when I'm traveling and when I'm away from home is actually hand embroidery, smocking, needlework. One of the reasons I got so much into smocking was because at the time I was traveling a lot for work. I worked for a software company for 5 years and was on the road 75% of my work life. And I never left the house without some kind of handwork in my bag. So I thought it might be fun to talk about the ways that I travel with needlework and what my experiences are and have been. So maybe you can travel with your art as well. So my first tip is the bag. I love cosmetic bags as craft storage. I think they're just fantastic. It will come as no surprise that I'm a Vera Bradley fan. This is I think it's their large cosmetic, and I love it because it's just like the right perfect size to stuff in a dress and hold everything, and then it just zips up and I can toss it in my work backpack or duffel bag, and I just don't have to worry about everything falling out or plastic tearing or anything like that. I have absolutely poked myself on needles coming out the side, which just happened. So, something to keep in mind is how you contain your needles inside your kit bag. So, how to store your needles. There are a ton of ways that you can do this. You can travel with the original needle packet if you're going to be using all the same size needle. This is a Richard Hemming pack of number 7 darners, which is my personal favorite for smocking. You can also use a housewife or a needle book. This is an adorable one from Kath Kitson that my sister gave me for Christmas a number of years ago. And so you can see it snaps closed, and then inside there's just these little felt pages that I have various needles stuck in. It keeps them very securely for me. Keeps them from poking out and sticking anyone. So some kind of flat storage, safe storage for your needles, also very helpful. You may have a box. I actually use a empty medication bottle to hold my pleating needles. I think you might have seen that in a previous video, so you could use something like that as well. Just something that's going to contain your sharps for the safety of yourself as well as any TSA agents that might be checking your bags is generally a good thing. On the subject of sharp things, the number one question that people ask me when I'm doing needlework in public or when I talk about traveling with my needlework is, well, how do you deal with scissors and the various TSA regulations? I have to tell y'all, in over 10 years of traveling with needlework, including international, many times, I have only had one pair of scissors taken, and they were, I kid you not, 8-inch dressmaking shears that I had thrown in the bottom of a bag and honestly forgotten about. So, and they weren't even taken for me at the first security check. I was randomly selected for an additional one at the gate, and the airline pulled it then. So things have relaxed a lot. In the very beginning couple of years after September 11th, when the US really cracked down on its regulations, they would take away, I almost had them take away a pair of needle nose pliers. So they were much stricter. I have to say these days, it is very much at the discretion of the TSA agent and the mood they're in on that day. Just keep that in mind. But honestly, I think anytime you're talking about a small pair of embroidery scissors, that's not going to be a problem. It's too small for them to really care about at this time. If you have experience traveling with scissors, with large or small scissors, knitting needles, crochet hooks, comment below. What has your experience been? If you work in the profession of tourism or travel safety, What are you told? How are you trained to handle these things? Please, please add to this conversation. Let's keep it going in the comments below. Scissors that I do travel with. This is a very small pair of gingers. It's a curved pair. You could really travel with any kind of scissors. Any embroidery scissor is going to be fine, because when you're talking about smocking, really you just need to cut the embroidery thread. That's it. You're not doing any actual fabric cutting right now, at least. So these are fine. I love these gingers. They're some of my nicer scissors. I would use as a rule of thumb, don't take anything you're not afraid to be taken away. I've never had them taken away, but just to be on the safe side, don't take anything that you're not prepared to leave behind. I don't take these when I go through airports. I drove to the beach, so it got thrown in the bag. What I do take when I travel on airplanes is nail clippers. Never underestimate the helpfulness of a pair of nail clippers. You can either take the nips, or if you're worried they might be taken away, just the safety clippers, you know? Just those little guys. Those can be helpful. You can cut an embroidery thread really easily with a good pair of nail clippers. And you can cut your own nails. Hooray! I'm a big fan of multitaskers when it comes to traveling. And these are never going to show up on anyone's security radar. So fantastic to take, or to take as a backup just in case you do take a pair of scissors and they are taken. Fantastic thing to keep in your sewing and in your travel kit. So usually I'll have a small little plastic bag that has that project's embroidery threads in it. So I'm only taking along just the embroidery threads that I need. For my bishop dress, I happen to be using all floche, so they are in their own little bags. Nothing too complicated there. Just need to keep them straight, keep them protected from getting dirty. So when it comes to the smocking plate, I keep my smocking plates organized in a 3-ring binder, and I put the plate inside a plastic protector. This works really well for me. And then it's really easy for me just to fold this up and stick it in the bag and go. It's another reason I love this large cosmetic bag size, because it's really like the perfect size for these pieces of paper folded in half. And then I always have it to reference. I also will take a picture of the smocking plate with my phone or my tablet, so that as a backup, I have a digital version of the plate that I can reference if something were to happen to my printed pattern. This is the other way that I travel with my embroidery floss. If it's one of those long DMC skeins, I just wind it on a little plastic card. Protect your hands. One of the things that happens when you travel, when you work with fabric, when you work with paper too, your hands will get very dry, and you want to protect your hands, especially when you have threads and fabric rubbing over them constantly. And when you're in an airplane that is frequently a dehydrated environment, your skin is getting very dry. You may be traveling to a place that is not as humid as you're used to. And since I live in Alabama, I'm almost always traveling to somewhere that is not as humid as Alabama. So always keep some kind of lotion that you can use to moisturize your hands. If you are worried about traveling with liquids and your lotion fitting as a liquid, there are a lot of really great solid moisturizers out there. This is a container from Lush, and inside it's all melted down. It's so sad looking. But this is a solid moisturizer. This is the Peace Bar, and I love the way it smells. It smells so amazing, and it's so easy to use. You just rub your hands on it, and once it warms up, that oil and the wax within the lotion, it just is so easy to smooth on. So I find this is a really fantastic and convenient way to travel with moisturizer for really any reason, but especially when you're working with textiles, you want to keep your fingers and your hands moisturized. especially right now because we're being so very careful about washing our hands frequently and often, and we may actually be stripping the oils from our skin more frequently than we would normally. So you'd most definitely want to protect your hands and your skin barrier. One other thing that I always also travel with is a little bitty tape measure. This one is also from Cath Kidston that my sister gave me. And it is just a very small retractable tape measure. It's got centimeters on one side, inches on the other. This is fantastic for so many reasons. You never know when you need this, right? I've used this if I need to measure the length of something, the width of something, sorry, that was an obvious statement. If I needed to check the measurements on one of my sewing projects, this is handy to have, or how wide a particular geometric pattern is running, then I can do that. If I'm out shopping for fabric, this is a great thing to have for checking the size of a pattern or a repeat, or how much might be on a remnant, so you can decide if it's going to be helpful for you or not. If you are visiting an archive and they give you permission to use this, sometimes they prefer that you use their rulers or paper ruler, but if you're visiting a museum or an archive and they give you permission, these can be very handy for checking the measurements on an item. What is the size, how far apart are embellishments placed, how deep is that flounce? All those things can be very handy to know if you're looking to use an archival item as inspiration, or if you're looking to actually recreate a garment. Generally just very handy to have. Also, if you want to double check your own measurements before you buy fabric or a pattern, this can be handy to have around. When it comes to my calligraphy, it's not too much different. This is another Vera Bradley bag. Like I said, I do love Vera Bradley for their adorableness as well as their functionality and the durability of their products. I especially like to get mine at the Vera Bradley outlets. If you have one at an outlet mall, you can get some really fantastic bargains on them that way. This is my standard calligraphy kit. And this is, again, it's a cosmetic carrier. I don't know the model, but I'll find out what this particular style is called. I'll link it below. And I just think this is perfect for my calligraphy because over here, the section that would have your makeup brushes or your eyeliners or whatnot is just the perfect size to hold my my pens, my dip pens. I've got over here my obliques plus a couple straight. I also have a paintbrush. My white marker is here. I've got a wax marker here. I usually have a mechanical pencil in there as well, and an eraser. This is just a really great way to keep these things organized, upright, and protected as well. And then over here in this zipper pouch, I have some of the more like smaller items that are related. I've got a pipette here for just putting water on my watercolors or maybe transferring ink. I have a small syringe that helps with transferring ink. This is especially handy if I'm working with one of my fountain pens. I have all of my italic nibs in this little container. I thought it was really adorable because it says Birmingham on it. Well, actually it says Birmingham because it's Birmingham, England, but I like to pretend that it says Birmingham. As well as extra lead for my mechanical pencils and any nibs, any other nibs that I have, I put in here. And then we have this larger zipper pouch in which I have my rag for blotting off. I have my teardrop oblique holder, which really should be on the other side, but it's kind of bulky, so I let it be in this big pouch. I have my inks, so some of my travel size, just little containers of inks. What do they call these? Dinky Doos or Dinky Dips, whatever. I got these from John Neal booksellers. I'll have a link below. So just whatever inks I want to travel with. Here's a powder for mixing up an ink, a metallic ink. I got one of my Tombow brushes here. This is just where I keep my bigger things. Any brush pens that I want to travel with, I just keep in here. Extra little dinky dips. This is just a great way for me to travel. Oh, and so I mentioned all of my metallic nibs are in that little Birmingham container. This is how I travel with my flexible nibs. I mean, see if I can get that to focus. This is just an empty sample ink vial. And I just have all my nibs kind of thrown in there. I just find this protects them and keeps them together in a very compact way. It works for me. You can try it. If you have another way of traveling with your nibs, definitely comment below. Here's one of my little travel watercolor palettes. Hey everyone, Future Marlisa. I just wanted to give a quick update as I'm sitting on the floor of my dining room / office working from home. A couple days after I recorded all of this, I had the opportunity to go by the outlet mall and pick up a couple new Vera Bradley bags. So I was super thrilled about that and just wanted to give the update. So this is the bag that I did have my calligraphy items in, and it's lovely. It's fantastic. I still love this bag. It's just, it didn't hold everything. It was just not quite big enough for what I needed. So I was able to upgrade to this, which is called the Large Blush and Brush Makeup Case. And so you can see here, this is similar, it's just a larger size. So here I've got my nib holders, I've got pencils, my eraser, just some of my writing tools. In this pocket I have my kind of funny shaped teardrop nib holder. I also have all of my nibs kind of in this pocket together, just my small things corralled. And that zips closed, so it keeps it nice and organized and keeps those nibs undamaged. And then when I go to the other side, it's just a larger pocket. One of the reasons that I really wanted to get a bigger case is that way I can fit my watercolor palettes inside. I don't have to keep them separate. So that's really great that I can have all of these things together and just zip it closed. And that way, when I'm traveling and want to take my writing things with me, or when I'm headed to a guild meeting or a guild class, a calligraphy guild class, it's just a lot easier for me to just grab this and know that everything's going to be in it, and I don't have to go hunting around for different pieces. So just wanted to give you that update. Oh, I did also take the opportunity, since it was on clearance, to grab another one of these large cosmetic bags that I mentioned. Let's see. This is the one that I've had for ages, like literally 10 years, and I just love it for carrying my sewing projects when I'm traveling because it's so durable, but it's like just the perfect size. I don't have to worry about anything tearing up. And so I just grabbed another one of those because it was on clearance. So that way, if I have 2 projects going, I don't have to stuff them all in the same bag. There you go. Another thing I love are these collapsible silicone cups. I found this at my local Alabama art supply, but you can find these online, Amazon, even Yes Style, Alibaba, whatever. These are fantastic for holding your water, for washing out your nibs. These are great kind of no matter what your medium of art. They're just super handy, super flexible, sturdy, lovely little doohickeys. I also really love the Finetech or Coliro palettes of mica watercolors. They perform beautifully for calligraphy or embellishing any kind of art you have going on. This is one I have with the golds. And you can see there was enough room down at the bottom that I just kind of tossed in my little brushes so that they kind of store themselves inside the watercolor palette. That makes it really convenient for traveling with them. And then here I have the Paradise palette from Color. Similarly, I find these are, one, they perform great, but also it's just a super convenient way to travel with colors and with inks, that then you don't have to worry about airline security standards or limiting yourself to only 1 or 2 options, or pressure changes making leaks in your bag. This is just a really nice, safe way. Watercolor, gouache, anything like that is just going to be a really nice way to travel with your calligraphy. Another great thing are these watercolor pencils or India ink pencils. These are Faber-Castell Gold Faber Aqua watercolor pencils. I also have some Inktense pink pencils from Derwent, and again, just super convenient for traveling, allows you to be artistic on the go, and then you don't have to worry about packing them up or running into any problems while you're traveling. Just super convenient, and also fun with my niece and nephew to be able to do some fun art projects with them. So this is the main notebook that I travel with. It is just a basic mixed media Canson notebook that I got at Walmart. I know there are nicer ones out there. I find this paper is really good for kind of whatever doodles I want to do. It is thick enough to hold up to some watercolor, but it also can do pretty well with just basic drawing. It's not too precious. You know, it's a cheap notebook, so you know, it's just really great for travel. It's got the binding on the side, so it stays together really well. So yeah, I guess that's it for my travel tips with my art, my needlework, and my calligraphy. Hope you found this helpful. I'd love to hear your experiences. If you've traveled with needlework, if you've traveled with art, especially going through airports, which tend to be the most intimidating. What have your experiences been? Comment below. I'd love to hear them. What are tips that you found? What are materials or supplies that you found to be particularly helpful? So we can keep this conversation going. Okay, thanks so much for being with me. And I'm gonna get back to my smocking and working on this plate from my Bishop blouse. And join me next week for more videos. Thanks so much. Thanks, local construction project.